Hey, what's up, Fame Campers? I'm excited. Today, our topic is all about public speaking online. Now, this is one of my favorite topics because it's truly transformed the course of my career, becoming comfortable speaking online and engaging with community members like yourselves all across social media platforms, but also in other people's online summits. And as you know, during Fame Camp this week, we are talking about how you can position yourself as an expert in your industry and gain the attention in your industry that you deserve by getting into these different outlets. Yesterday, we talked about guest posting. If you missed yesterday's session, go ahead and hop on over to our YouTube channel and it is up there. So I'm going to give you a little background how this worked for me and some of my limiting beliefs behind why I didn't think I could public speak for a while, and then go into a few of the details regarding how you actually reach out and gain the attention of some of these online summits that can feature you and how you can offer value to their communities. And then we'll go over some best practices on how to get comfortable on camera. So if it sounds good to you, give this video a like. Let me know if you have questions in the comments below, and we'll go on from there. So I started out growing up as a really shy military kid. We moved around a lot. I wasn't super comfortable speaking to people, even in person. So it's kind of funny that a lot of my career is now based upon, well, public speaking. When I first started out, I was in customer support here at Meet Edgar. So just answering emails, pretty comfortable doing that. You know, I grew up with a lot of pen pals being a military brat. So I was comfortable reaching out and doing those emails all the time, but I never really thought I'd be comfortable speaking online in this way. But the secret to getting started with public speaking that I have learned over the last couple of years, listen closely here, is to just get started. It truly is that simple. And before we dive in, remember that these tips truly are just a framework. The real magic of being able to stand out and create your own fame online is doing things the way only you can do them, not the way everyone else can do them. Because honestly, if you want to go ahead and create your own fame online, you don't want to fit in with the crowd. You want to stand out. So take these as just a guide, of what I think can really help you structure and be confident on camera and be confident about getting these speaking gigs. But remind yourself that you have a special way of doing this, and you need to incorporate that into any advice you get anywhere online. So you need to really put your own spin on things and stand out and embrace what makes you different. And that's the most important thing you can do in business when it comes to live speaking events. It's not thinking that you have to be like everyone else or have the same slide templates as everyone else. That's not the secret of really standing out online and creating your fame with speaking gigs. It's what's doing things that make you comfortable. So that's one of the first tips of being able to really show up on camera well, really get these great speaking gigs, is wear something that makes you feel comfortable, talk in a tone that makes you feel comfortable. Don't feel like you have to change your cadence, or don't feel like you have to dress up in a business suit. The online space is becoming more and more conversational, and business in general is becoming more relational in that way. So you can use this to your advantage by finding those unique selling propositions that make you you. So you really want to get to know your stories. If you haven't kind of figured that part out yet, that all of this is leading into the fact that your unique stories can position you to be really engaging speakers. Our brain is hardwired to remember a narrative and to relate to stories that we can see ourselves in as the listener. So if you as a speaker are telling a story that I can say, oh yeah, I see myself in that story, I'm going to be much more engaged than if you're just spouting out facts. It's truly one of the best ways to gain the attention and to get people involved when you're giving online speeches. So you want to think to yourself, and I would recommend even sitting down and journaling some of these things. I know some of these questions I'm going to throw out can sometimes sound a little bit woohooey, but they do really help guide the stories that are going to create the most impact for people who are engaging with your content. So what struggles have you overcome in life? What failures have you overcome and succeeded from? What lessons did you learn from those failures? What events have really impacted and shaped your personality in life? These things are really the kind of latching on points that people are going to be able to resonate with and learn from and see you as a mentor and see you as an expert. And that way, more and more people are going to start seeking you out because you produce such relatable content online. Now, if speaking really is not your most favorite form of communication, one of the strongest things to remember is your brand needs you to do it. So sometimes it really does just take you being courageous. And I love this idea that, Showing up confidently on camera is something we think, oh, some people have it, some people don't. But getting that confidence to be on camera and to speak on online events comes from being courageous first. You don't get confidence until you actually do the thing, you're uncomfortable doing it, and you prove that you can succeed. You prove to yourself that it's not going to kill you, that it's going to be something that you can continue on. So make sure that you understand your brand needs you to do this because it humanizes your brand. It gives people a way to understand the tone behind all the other content you're producing on social media. You know, every single status update that goes out, people could be reading it in a different tone if they don't know the way that you speak, or they don't know your mannerisms, or they don't have a face to put behind it. You know, it's a lot easier to remember people's faces than it is to remember like paragraph structure of their social media status update, right? And if you want to stay top of mind, and if you want to be a brand who is continuously talked about within the cultural zeitgeist, you need to be someone who is recognizable on social media and on the internet. So remind yourself first and foremost that you have to be courageous to get this confidence, and your brand needs you to do it to humanize yourself and be memorable out there. So answer these questions on a journal. Make sure that you have these stories written out so that people can really identify and you can get the full benefits of what speaking online can do for your brand voice and do for your brand awareness. The next thing that I think is a hurdle a lot of people need to overcome when it comes to speaking and kind of reaching out and getting a lot of different webinar bookings and getting a lot of different summit bookings is that you feel perhaps like you don't have anything worthwhile to say. But honestly, if you feel that, your followers and the people consuming your content are going to feel that too. So get really confident in the fact that you have something to say that no one else has to say. And that comes back again to making sure you have those stories weaved into the content that you're producing. So if you sound like a broken record here, it's because I really want to drive home this point that there's a million other people out there who might be teaching a subject matter similar to yours. For example, there's a ton of other people who teach social media strategy beyond just us here at Meet Edgar. However, you like the stories that we tell. Perhaps you resonate with our founder, Laura Roeder's story about being a social media educator and then transitioning into a software CEO, and you resonate with her struggles and her successes, and you want to learn from her because she tells a certain story and because you resonate with it. That's going to be the same in any industry. If you are putting your stories and narratives out there, you're going to get the right people to consume your content, and they're going to want to consume it in the way you're teaching rather than in the way someone else isn't. This comes into, I'm sure you've heard it before if you've been in the online space, but this comes into having that mindset of abundance as well. It's not that just one person can teach something online, right? A majority of the time, any space you're in these days is going to be pretty crowded, and you're going to have a lot of that competition out there. But if you remind yourself that there are enough people who want to learn this subject to go around, and the fact that if one person has a follower that wants to learn from them, that doesn't mean it's taking that follower away from you or taking that viewer away from you. It just means they're going to learn better with the way they're presenting the information versus you. And your stories help your followers and help your viewers make that decision to say, yes, you're right for me, or no, you're not right for me. And if you're forgetting, one of the most important parts of creating fame is really getting your own unique perspective out into the industry talk that's going on. So one of the great ways of being able to get booked on speaking is thinking about things that are a little maybe controversial or polarizing in what you think about in your industry. Maybe those aren't the right words for it, but let me give you an example. You know, for social media automation tools, Meet Edgar differentiates itself because we're really based on an evergreen posting schedule. We believe in upcycling your content and making sure that you're sharing your status updates more than once to get the biggest reach and to get the biggest impact in the hard work you're putting into them. So we believe in this philosophy, and that's going to be what differentiates ourselves from some of the other scheduling tools out there where you just get a status update to go out once and then it's lost in the internet, right? So that's kind of a different outlook that we have when it comes to social media strategy than other people do. We want to put that front and center when we're applying to speak at summits or when we're applying to do a joint webinar with another company, because that's what companies are looking for too. Again, with the information that's out online for free these days, so many people can just list off stats, can get kind of that information that's really easy to understand. But it's when you have a unique viewpoint in your industry that's maybe a little bit different from other people, that's when the magic comes and people start to get interested and want to learn more from you. So again, another great journaling opportunity here is to sit down and list out what makes your view of your niche different from anyone else's. Include your own personal stories in there and include some of the just ideas and beliefs that you hold about your industry. So other things that I want you to really think about here are, the mindset that you can have is saying, what goes into speaking and what goes into sharing your past experiences, and that it's going to attract the right people and have that message resonate with them, right? But when they're actually going to choose to follow up with you, it's all about finding the right audiences to show up in front of on your speaking events. So here's the biggest secret for getting booked on speaking events. Google. I know, again, another mind-blowing shocker there, but really you have this at your fingertips. Honestly, when I get booked at summits and stuff, it's because I've Googled social media summits, or I've Googled speaking opportunities for social media, and I have applied to a lot of them. Just like yesterday, when we talked about things, reaching out to guest posts, the more you apply to, the more you're putting that opportunity out there that if someone says no, it's getting you one step closer to that yes. That's the mindset you have to have. So get out there and get in front of the right people, of course. Apply to the programs that you can offer value to, but make sure you're casting a pretty wide net and make sure you're applying to a lot of them and not letting people who say no to you deter you from continuing on this mission. And if you need some motivation to do this, I want you to start really reaching out to get opportunities and just thinking about the amount of credibility that it's going to lend to your own social media following as well. So what I mean here is once you do get booked on one event, I like to refer to this again as your anchor event. So that one event that's going to say, okay, great, someone has vetted this opportunity already. They've booked them. I don't have to do as much work to make sure that this person is an expert and is going to be helpful for my community because they've already spoken somewhere else. So it's that momentum that gets going that really is the true magic. And to be seen as an expert, you do need to make sure that when you get booked, you're actually sharing on your own social media feeds and in your own newsletter that you're speaking at someone else's conference. It's that social proof that we're all looking for. Someone else has vetted you. Other people have had really great experiences consuming your content. And the ways that you really want to do this is to make sure that you're putting it out on social media as posts. So you want to schedule promotions. You want to get status updates out there, and you want to put some teaser content out there before you speak at the conferences, right? So this can be a really great opportunity to collaborate with other speakers, especially if you're doing an online summit. So if you see a online summit, or if you're involved in a joint webinar, start talking to people who are also involved in that and see if maybe you could do a joint Facebook Live and have that mindset of collaboration over competition so that you're both getting in front of each other's audiences even before the summit. You see how this creating fame really goes into making sure that you're almost getting out there every single opportunity you have to get your face in front of people. So other ideas of how you can promote people, or how you can promote the event that you're going to be speaking at, is to gather an about me video of just telling your bio. Because again, these stories are going to be what attracts people to say, okay, I do want to learn more from that specific speaker on this topic. You can interview other influencers who might have some different opinions about your industry and just have a really great debate and discussion. People like hearing both sides of the story. You can make sure that you're capturing different statistics. People love numbers, and go into how you're going to dive into it within your talk. All of these things are great opportunities to offer value to your social media community. And then also put that little link in there showing that, hey, I'm going to be talking more on this subject at XYZ event. Go ahead and sign up here. You're not only helping that event get more registrants, and a lot of social media summit events or any event will actually have what's called an affiliate link that if you share it out and you get a certain amount of people to register, they'll offer you bonuses, they'll offer you different payouts, stuff like that, which is just another really great way to get another income revenue stream going for your business. So Next, you might be asking, what if I don't have that anchor event? What if I haven't booked anyone? What if no one's booked me to speak before? Yeah, I still want to make sure that I'm giving people a little bit of an opportunity to see how I speak online. Well, I think you know what I'm going to say here. It's about creating your own fame. Think about all of the platforms that are out there where you could go on YouTube and actually just start doing videos there so that people can get an example of how you're going to show up. You could start a podcast so that people get an example of how your voice sounds and how you can actually speak. These things are really, really important so that you can send examples to people if that's required when you're applying to online summits and online speaking events. And remember, creating fame, doing this is not only going to help you get booked on more speaking opportunities, but it's also really going to allow you to see that, hey, this is an opportunity for me now to share this content with my own community, offering them more value. Cool. So again, this is really just going back to also making sure that you're continuously focusing on growing your social media status updates in a way that they're being engaged with. And video is a great, great way to do that because it's going to be the way that people are reminded there's a real human behind that social feed. You want to be the face behind the handle, and you need to show up online in spaces that people can see you in order to get that. Cool. So once you're done Googling and once you're done kind of applying to places in that forum, I would really encourage you to look for opportunities with like software companies, for example, Meet Edgar here, in the way that you could see, hey, does this software company have a similar audience that my content would really help with? If it does, you could reach out to that software company, tell them the value that your topic is going to help their community with, and then get this idea of saying, could we do a joint webinar? A lot of software companies want more content just because content marketing is really the way that people are liking to consume and get brand awareness out there. Yet creating a ton of content can be a little bit tiring. So if you're offering the ability to create content in the form of a joint webinar, it's really great for the software companies or the businesses that you're working with to get free content. And it's great to get you that brand awareness out there. Cool. So Google those summits, start applying to them, start making your own YouTube videos and podcasts, and start reaching out to software companies or product companies that you think your message would really help. So once you get your speaking gig, what's going to be next, right? Most of the time, you're going to have to sign an agreement if this is for like an online summit or a virtual event that says, you can't sell at this. This is strictly a value offering event. Sometimes that can discourage people saying, well, what's in it for me, right? But I don't want you to take that outlook because there's a ton of great ways that you can still make sure that this event is getting you the recognition and getting you the email subscribers or getting you the brand awareness that you want. So some of the things that you can do here is reminding yourself that it does take people about 7 to 14 touch points with a brand in order for people to have that brand loyalty. And this is just one other way that they can hear your company's name. So dropping your company's name in there, telling people a little bit about yourself in the bio part of your speak is, again, just a way to get that brand awareness. You can also create like a PDF that's going to be a summary of what you spoke about or kind of a worksheet guide to go along with it and have your brand logo perhaps in the bottom corner. Great way for when people print out that worksheet, they're seeing that brand logo there. Eventually, when they see it more and more, they're going to start recognizing that brand might be something they want to go check out. You can also have a call to action at the end when you give your speech and ask people to continue the conversation over on your Twitter account. Give people your Twitter handle. Say, if you have additional questions, please tweet at me or please email XYZ email address. This is a great way to end that discussion, not by selling your program, which a lot of online summits won't allow you to do, but by continuing to help nurture people in a way that they know how to reach you once you leave that online summit. So another thing I've seen people do is offer like a discovery call. Again, you're going to have to check the rules if this is allowed at a lot of speaking events. But what a discovery call form is, you can like make just a Google form and go ahead and fill out a bunch of different options there where people can book a call with you, where you can go over a little bit more about your program or about your product with them and see if it is the right fit. So again, a lot of different ways to start building relationships with the attendees there. And the great thing is that they're actually self-selecting into participating in these things like the discovery calls. So the best mindset here is to remember these speaking events are really about building that top of funnel brand awareness and then continuing and nurturing the conversation with those who opt into it and offering so much value. So the reason that we always go towards value, I know if you've joined these live streams before, you hear a lot about, 80% of the content that you put out there is always supposed to be value adding. And this really goes to the fact that you need to earn the right to sell. Same concept goes for any speaking gigs. You need to offer so much value. You need to put yourself out there so that you earn the right to sell and that people don't feel like they're being sold to you. They feel excited to purchase from you because of the amount of value that you have given them. Cool. So now we have something pretty serious to talk about here, which is the fear of public speaking. So I know a lot of people just kind of check out when it comes to applying to online summits or speaking gigs because you're afraid that you're not great on camera or that you have this fear that the majority of people have of public speaking. So let's go over how you do get comfortable on camera a little bit. First, you always want to make sure that you know who you're talking to. It's not that you're just talking to a camera, it's that there are humans on the other side of that camera. So if you've applied to a virtual summit or a speaking gig, make sure you ask whoever is hosting that, hey, who do you expect the audience to be? Can you tell me some of their characteristics and traits so that you can tailor a little bit of your messaging? I like to kind of compare this to the fact that if you tell the exact same story to your grandma and to your best friend, you're going to use different language. You're going to use different details in that story, right? Same goes for each and every online summit. Their audiences are going to be a little bit different. So make sure that you feel comfortable, you know who you're talking to, so that the tone you're using and the details you're putting out there are going to land well. Another thing is to remember to breathe. I know this is one that I struggle with, especially even now, the fact that I'm a really fast talker, and especially when I get nervous, I start talking faster. A lot of us do that. So remind yourself on camera to remember to breathe, remember to blink. These things that go into a normal conversation oftentimes get lost. And we're not comfortable watching ourselves on camera and we think we sound silly because we just don't do it very often. But that's one of the things I'm going to encourage you to do, especially if you're starting to create your own fame on your own YouTube channel or are doing some practice videos, is sitting down and actually watching those to make sure you're doing a normal human interaction of actually breathing, actually talking, and all of that fun stuff. Remember, you're talking to a real human, so nothing has changed. So when you're actually on an online event, and if there's like live attendees, make sure that you actually greet people by their name. People love hearing their name. They love that one-on-one connection there. So if you can, in the chat section, remind people of the benefits of saying, hey, where are you from? Who are you tuning in? What industry are you in? And welcoming and talking back to people, especially at the beginning as people are starting to roll in. It's a great way to remind people that, hey, this community here that we're speaking with, the benefit of being at this online summit or at this online speaking gig isn't just to hear and learn from me, it's to connect with others in your industry. So talk amongst each other, share your Instagram handles, stuff like that. People love to be encouraged to do that so that you can network and create community, especially right now as that's live events aren't going on right now. Doing this for people in a virtual space is really appreciated, and really that goodwill is always going to come back to you. Another trick that I used at the beginning too is always reminding yourself you're speaking to one person. I know people have gone as far as like taped a photo of their ideal audience persona, or like even a photo of their best friend or their mom to their computer, so that you're not afraid thinking that there's like 20 people on the other side of that screen. It's just that you're having a general conversation, a really easy human to human interaction with that one person. And then your speech pattern might come across a little bit less shaky and a little bit less nervous that there's so many people watching you. Lighting and sound, I think, especially for online things, is something people get a little nervous about, but I don't want you to think you have to have it all figured out perfectly before you can start applying either. If you don't have professional lighting, sit with a window in front of you. Natural lighting is some of the best ways that you can get a well-lit space, but not have your face show up super shiny from like a super bright light, right? So don't get too much hooked up in that techie stuff. That's going to stop you from applying to these events for sure. One other thing that I love and that I learned from an online YouTube influencer, Sunny Lenarduzzi, is when you're actually creating your any video or any sort of like video content, you want to make sure that you're using something called the hot script. And that means hook, outcome, and testimonial. So you need to have these three elements within any speech that you give. You need to hook people in really quickly. Hooking people in can start out with a personal story. It can start out with something like a shocking number or statistic. It can start out with a question that's going to be like an identifying question, being like, are you someone who XYZ? So anything that's going to hook people in really quickly, because we lose attention so quickly these days. So make sure that hook is within the first 1 to 3 minutes of when you're speaking. Outcome. Make sure at some point within your speech, you tell people the outcome they're going to get by taking the tips that you're going to be producing. So for example, for this video, the outcome you're going to get is going to be able to get more speaking gigs. It's going to be able to show up on online summits to raise your brand awareness if you follow these tips. That's what's going to move people to action way more than just giving people like strictly like, here, go do this. It's explaining that outcome behind it. That moves people to action. And then testimonial just goes into that social proof, making sure that you say, this has helped me in my past. This is how it's helped me in my past, or this has helped one of my clients XYZ in their past. We always want that sort of idea that, hey, we're not the first person just trying this out. This has worked for people in the past. Cool. So a great way that we're going to kind of transition into here next is thinking about what could go wrong in your online summit speaking. Now, I don't know if you guys have been on any of the content batching parties that Meet Edgar does recently, but you might have noticed in the last couple, my internet has been terrible. It drops a lot, it gets really crackly, and this can sometimes create nervousness around the fact that like, hey, I don't want to do these speaking opportunities because I'm afraid my internet's going to be so bad. If you get something like this, and if you get really nervous, I think the best thing that you can do is just name it. Tell people. The first time I tried to just cover it up and push through and be like, this will be great. But I felt so much more comfortable when I said, hey guys, I'm trying to figure out my internet issues. If the screen drops while I'm doing this, please hold tight. I'll be back in 10 seconds. No one is going to care. You know, I've been on webinars where my dog has barked at the mailman coming before. We just laugh about it and move on. If you are someone nervous about the tech aspect or about like a kid walking behind you on camera or something like that, please know that that's actually something really great to humanize your brand again and to be really relatable, especially right now as so many people are working from home. Don't let that stop you from applying and doing these things because everyone goes through it, and the more relatable you can be, the better. And those are some of the things that people are going to talk about. Like, oh, hey, were you on that live stream when Megan's dog barked at the mail person? That was so funny. You know, that's going to be something you can talk about way more than just being strictly with the script, like following your slides exactly. So don't get too nervous about things going wrong if that's stopping you from applying. And honestly, you know, inspiring people to action does come from being real and putting these stories out there. And nothing beats preparation when it comes to actually being confident on camera. So it's not even like being prepared in the way of like having slides perfectly lined out. Being prepared really is all about, you know, what's the primary goal and the primary outcome that you want the viewer to have after they view your video. Can you really simplify this statement into one sentence so that it's clear in your head about why you're doing this the whole time? Why do you want to share this message? You know, people can really feel that authenticity and they can feel that excitement that you're sharing this for a reason if you have that lens on when you're actually describing it to people. So other questions that I would love for you to think about is how you can create these moments of connection with people. You know, what behind the scenes content and behind the scenes stories do you have that you can supply and share to people to get that connection right away? If you feel like you're a little bit scared to share these more personal things, it's probably a really good sign that this fear is pushing you in the right direction. I always love to look at fear in that way. That is pushing you towards what you should be doing. And it's those hard stories to tell that are actually going to be the ones that people appreciate the most. And if they're able to kind of connect with that story, they're going to remember your information that much better. Always remind yourself, you know, what measures of success are there? If once you end this online summit, what's a measure of success? Is it someone actually tweeting at you afterwards, thanking you for your presentation and asking you? Is it people downloading your PDF guide? You know, always have that end goal in mind so that as you're leading that value up to it, it feels really good to ask for it at the very end. And have some questions in mind that you think might come up from people. I always really encourage you in your speeches to leave a little bit of time for questioning, because I think when you can answer people's questions rather than just have your script set, it comes across way more in a way that you're like sharing your expertise, right? And way more in a relatable way because you're answering directly to people. So make sure you do leave some question time at the end. Cool. So I want you to remember also that when you're creating your presentation, sometimes taking things out is just as important as putting things in. So we really want to simplify our message. And if you're like me, I know you want to add so much value and you want to just put everything in there. So if you struggle with that, I think Laura Belgray, who's a great copywriter, said it best. And she said it in the way that they're not going to know it wasn't in there because they never knew it was in there. So as you're editing down your slides, as you're editing down your speeches, remind yourself that you're not taking this information away from people. They never knew it was there in the first place. And in order to take action on something, you want people to have that simple outline and you don't want to overload them with too many details. So look through your presentation, look through your speeches, and look for things you can take out just as much as looking for things that you can put in there. And that will often lead to a stronger speech that way. Cool. Now, I want to give you a little bit more of a once over after you've like applied to online summits or after you've applied to these programs, what you are actually going to expect to do on that application form. So some of the ways that I've done this year, some of the places that I've spoken and applied to this year are startup weeks. So a lot of different cities will host startup weeks. A lot of them are doing them virtually now. So these are really cool because the application process oftentimes is video. So like create a 60-second video to pitch your submission. Help us show how you might come across using this virtual medium is a sentence that's out there on a lot of different speaking things. So if you haven't created a video before, just trying to explain what the topic you're trying to teach people is, practice that, get out your QuickTime viewer, get out your phone even, and get that 60-second video elevator pitch of who you are, the outcome that you're going to provide to their viewers, and really make sure that you're being concise in that and really getting that elevator pitch done, because I personally think more and more online events aren't just going to be speakers submitting written statements of why they should be selected to speak there. It's going to be more video and virtually related. So having this practice in really well is going to be something that's going to benefit you in the future. Other things that these startup weeks have really asked about are, how well balanced is your program? So can any industry really benefit from this? Because you have to remind yourself that not everyone there is going to have the same job, right? So think how your topic that you're going to be speaking about will be really beneficial to a wide variety of people. Other things that they've asked before is, I applied to this freelance conference, and I'm actually just going to read this one right here because I got it pulled up. So the form that I was filling out was saying, attendees will be joining these sessions based on a theme that best represents you. What would you like your session to be called? Some example of names are from full-time to freelance, personal branding for freelancers, expanding your capabilities to find more clients, brand strategy 101, entrepreneurship versus freelancing, building communities for freelancers. So they give you these really great topic ideas. So if you are someone applying to that and they give you these topic ideas, really take the time to make sure that you're coming up with a catchy title. Now, we've talked about the headline generating machine 3 days in a row now, but this applies most definitely to your video content and your speaking gigs as well. Sit down and actually write out 20 to 30 different headlines, titles for what your speech could be called to make sure you're finding the best one. Remember, specificity is key. One of our most attended webinars this year was one that was called How I Turn One Piece of Content into 100 different status updates. That number and that specificity told people exactly what they were going to expect and what they were going to see once they attended that webinar, right? That's the kind of thing that you're looking for when you're creating titles to apply for these speaking gigs. It's that specificity and this idea of they will know the exact outcome they're going to get by attending this session. So other things that I've applied for have really asked for like headshots quite a bit. So make sure that you have a nice headshot that's uploaded to your Google Drive, because a lot of the time these speaking forums will just ask for a link to your headshot. So you want to upload it to Google Drive so you can just copy and paste that link into the submission form. Again, you don't have to get professional photos, but just make sure even on like your iPhone, that'll take a great photo. Make sure you're outside in good lighting or by a window with great lighting so that you can have that ready to go. And it's not just that one other thing that's stopping you from applying. I think when we're prepared and we have these things, that's just so much easier to copy and paste that link when we're looking for these gigs. If we're going to be more likely to apply to more than them than if we see these forums and we're like, oh my gosh, I need a headshot. I don't have that. I'm just not going to apply for this, right? So that's the benefit of getting these things ready ahead of time. That's also the benefit of kind of doing that headline generating machine to title your programs before you even apply. So again, you don't have that as one more obstacle to completing their application form. Okay. So other things that you can think about, is a lot of these forms will ask for a fun fact about you. So you want to have your speaker bio ready to go. It doesn't have to be super long. It doesn't have to be super involved, but make sure you're adding a couple of personal details into your speaker bio so that, again, it's a little more relatable and people know who you are. Cool. Another summit that I did this year was called the Level Up Summit. This was actually a pre-recorded video, so not every single summit or online conference is going to be live. So if you're someone a little bit afraid of live video, you could do a pre-recorded video. You can look for summits that offer that. Their description I have right here says, your training should be centered around 3 to 5 clear talking points. The conclusion is to give people a tease for the opt-in that you'll be providing. So again, remember, it's that PDF that's going to be really value adding. And then there'll be time for Q&A at the end. So look for things that make you comfortable, especially at the beginning. If you like that you'll just have a pre-recorded video and then like a little PDF guide you can provide to people, know that that's something that is out there online. You don't have to always start out with the live video if you're just getting comfortable on camera. Cool. So I know we went over a ton of stuff, so I want to break this down a little bit before we leave here and give you the action steps that we really want you to take. I want you to get out there and make sure that you Google different online summits within your industry. I want you to get out there and start to research different software companies and products that you could look and reach out to partner with. And I want you to start your own YouTube videos or your own podcasts in order to start creating these, creating your own fame and getting these example videos for the summits to be able to consume, to get to know you a little bit before ahead of time. I want you to make a 60-second video describing what you're going to teach to people. And I want you to get a headshot uploaded to Google Drive so that you have that ready to go. And I want you to write your bio. I know this is a ton to remember, and we have even more of a checklist that's going to go in depth with this in the description of this video. So go ahead and grab it. It's a great guide there for Fame Camp number 2. And really, I'm going to leave you today to remember the best way to become famous online is to really be known for a specific thing in your industry. And that means going really deep on your messaging, right? So make sure that you have done that work to know how you're going to differentiate yourself when you're speaking to people. And you'll get way better at this as you start to do it more. And you remember, progress isn't always a straight line. So there's going to be some days that you just rock it out on these online summits and you do so well. And other days you might be a little more uncomfortable and you might be a little more awkward on camera, but don't let that stop you either. It's going to be an up and down ride and it's going to be okay in that way. Cool. So I am thrilled you guys are joining Fame Camp, and I would love to hear how you're liking it. Email support@meetedgar.com or leave it in the comments below. We will be back tomorrow with day 3 of Fame Camp, and I cannot wait to join you there. Let me know if you guys have any other questions in the meantime.